students, today we are going to start with our new chapter, which is in regarding to the Indus Valley Civilization. Now, in the previous chapters, we had studied about various different civilizations like Mesopotamian civilization. Then we studied about Egyptian civilization, which existed in the other part of the world. Now, this Indus Valley civilization holds a very important factor in regarding to our Indian territory, because this is the civilization from where our cultures or tradition flourished in our Indian territory or Indian society. Now, this Indus Valley civilization was considered to, or it is there in the borders of India as well as in Pakistan, which is present now. Now, understanding this civilization, first we need to have some basic details about how this existence evolved, from where it evolved, and from since when it is existing or when it existed, and then who were the important people who took this civilization in a very important studical manner, and how we got educated in regarding to the civilization. Now, the origin of the civilization, there were two main important civilizations that existed. Civilization means in sites that existed, which gave us a clear picture or a detailed picture about the Indus Valley civilization. Now, these two are, number one here is the Harappan civilization, and the next one is the Mohenjo-daro civilization. Now, this Harappan civilization was found by an important archaeologist whose name was Dayanand Sahani in about year 1921, and the next name is Raghal Das Banerjee, who excavated or discovered Mohenjo-daro, the sites of Mohenjo-daro, and it was in the year 1922. So these were the two important people who took initiatives in regarding to bringing about or educating people about the existence of this Indus Valley civilization or this civilization. Now, coming to as why this civilization was regarded as Indus Valley civilization. The importance is that now in every civilization we see there is an importance of river that existed in every civilization. Like if you talk about Mesopotamian civilization, there were two important rivers like Euphrates and Tigris, which flowed beside this civilization, which was helpful resources, water supply resource for the civilization. In the same way, Egypt also had river Nile, and in same context, the Indus Valley civilization had Indus River, which flowed from there, which was the major water resource river or the valley, and that is why this particular river, for the existence of this civilization and this particular river, this civilization was known as the Indus Valley civilization. Now, this important civilization was also called into a different name. It was also regarded as the Harappan civilization also, because major site or the main site of Indus Valley civilization was Harappa, and most of the important things which gave detail about the existence of the civilization was excavated from the Harappan civilization. And this was the first civilization that was excavated by Mr. Dayanand Sahani, who was an archaeologist, Indian archaeologist. Now, to understand who existed in this civilization, it was considered that the Aryas from the central part of Asia, they all the way and long back, they dispersed themselves and they started settling down in certain northern eastern part of Indian territory, and their existence and their settlement brought about the existence of this civilization called as Harappan civilization, which were known as the Aryans here. The Aryans were the important person or people who gave the importance of bringing about the discovery or the existence of the Indus Valley civilization. Now, since when this civilization existed, it is considered that this particular civilization has its history back about 2000 to 3000 years back. It is such an old historical civilization, and it was considered that this particular civilization has a root cause of various other civilizations to grow, and which was considered to be one of the largest civilization with many sites and many towns, small towns and places that existed during the time. Now, Indus Valley civilization it took place, or it started between 2500 BCE to 1500 BCE. Now, there were about, see, the sites that were existed. That is why this particular civilization was considered one of the very important civilization. Now, there was about 2800 sites it is considered that there were 2,800 sites, means there were about small, bigger, larger. In collective of all, there were about 2,800 important sites that existed during the Indus Valley civilization. That is why I said that this particular civilization was considered to be one of the vast civilization during that time that existed. Now, as I told you that this particular civilization was also known as the Harappan civilization. Now, Harappan civilization, why? Because as I explained, Harappa was the main or the first important site that was excavated by Dayaram Sahani in 1921, and that discovery and excavation and discoveries of various different things, things like tools, important pots, and idols or toys or important handmade things were discovered, which were there beneath the earth's surface. And when digging was done from the Harappan civilization, there came traces of various important existence of things that belonged of Indus Valley civilization. So that is why this excavation gave Indus Valley name a different name also, which was second name, which was known as the Harappan civilization, which is same. Now, what were the important cities that existed? Now, if you go through the cities, it has a long list. It has a long list of cities that existed in the Harappan civilization that will give you an idea about how vast it was. Now, Lothal. Lothal, it is said to be found in Gujarat. Now, this site was very much important in Gujarat. Why? Because it is considered that Lothal was the, you can consider as a port where transport through sea or waterways were done. So Lothal was one of, you can consider during that time, it was one of the sea trade ports which existed in Gujarat, which is still there in Gujarat. Now Surkotada was one of the another sites during that time. Then Ropar, then you have Kalibangan. These are very important sites that you should know or you should understand, have knowledge about these sites. Then you have Alamgirpur, then you have Banwali, then Rakhigadi. Rakhigadi was found, this particular site was found in Haryana. And Dolavira, this again existed in, or it is there present in the modern times Gujarat, in the state of Gujarat. So this is just a brief picture about what exactly was there during the existence of the Indus Valley civilization, and how this civilization flourished from one part to the another, and how human being developed, or what are the important things that existed during the time. Now, the other important thing that we are going to study here is about the characteristics. Now, in this characteristics part, we are going to study about the important things or the important existence or traditions or practices that was carried out during this time. What were the important characteristics? Now let us go through what were the important things or characteristics that were there. Now I am going to first highlight what are the important things individually that existed during the time. Number one, it is talking about the town planning. Then architecture. Then it is about the public buildings. Now, let us first understand these three things. Number one is the town planning. As we studied in our previous chapter about the Egyptian civilization, that how the town was planned, how people built their houses, or how the road system was. In the same way, here also the town was divided in the Egyptian civilization into two important parts: the upper and the lower civilization, the upper Egypt and the lower Egypt. Now, in the same way, this town planning was also done in a particular pattern, and this pattern was known as the grid. It was known as the grid system. The grid system, and the grid system followed a particular pattern into which the roads were made, the walking paths were made where public used to walk. So there is a particular system which divided smaller roads, you can consider smaller paths with the wider paths. With the wider paths, where it states about how smaller paths were utilized or used in different ways, and how wider paths and where it was made and how it was used. It is said that this grid was made into rectangular form. That means what? The roads were in such that it crossed each other in different parts or different lanes, and it brought about a rectangular form of shape of the town planning, where each and every roads were found in a particular pattern, in a one single defined pattern, and the crossings or the corners were little circular in shape for the easy movement of the bullock carts or the any traveling things that were existed during the time. Most probably it was bullock carts that existed. So it was somewhat of little circular curved system where easily the bullock carts could move around and go about. So this was the pattern how the town planning was done in a particular systematic manner. Now the architecture means the building style or the system or the patterns that they used during that time. Now it is said that they used certain system of patterns and buildings that depicted in different ways. Now architecture, if you see, we talk about the public building. We also had talked about this existence of public building in the Egyptian civilization. In the same way, it also has an importance and existence during the Indus Valley civilization, where certain places were considered to be as public buildings and certain places were called as the dwelling house. As the dwelling houses. Now public buildings, as we all have discussed earlier in the earlier chapter in the Egyptian civilization, public buildings were most probably built for common people as a whole. Then it was made for the common people as a whole, where others people together in the society they could use. Like there were important things such as granary, the existence of granary. Granary was a big block kind of building or a circular kind of buildings, or you can call a longitudinal drum-like structure, where whenever there was cultivation of grains being done, these grains were put inside that, and whenever it was required during unwanted seasonal or unwanted duration or time, it was taken out from there and it was utilized by the general public as distributed by the ruler or the king that existed during the time. So granaries were one of the important things that existed during the Indus Valley civilization, which was considered to be public building in regarding to public use. There were various important places of transport system, which also existed, like roadways, paths, and places of dwelling for general public travelers who travel from one place to another. So those important places were also the public dwelling places that existing during the time. Now the next is about the dwelling places. Dwelling in the sense it is talking about the existence of houses or the places of private owned individual houses that existed during the time. And what was this system? Now same as Egyptian civilization, you can consider that it was the houses, the construction of houses were according to the status of the people, and it showed the status of the people as to if there was a normal house, it was if there is a two-story building or a pakka kind of house or a mud house. The existence or the making of these buildings itself considered or itself stated that there were difference in regarding to status of people in regarding to richer middle class people and the higher rich class people, which had the poor people who lived in small huts or mud huts, and middle class people who had houses of pakka but it was single story building, and various luxurious houses were most probably owned by the richer people or higher class people or the noble peoples who had double story building with various different attachments around or surroundings which were luxurious in nature during that time. So this is how the difference between the architectural structure was considered during the Egyptian period. The next important characteristics during this age was the existence of the various important sites or buildings or construction, which is very much important to be known. Now these particular sites were known as the Great Bath. This is a very important topic that should be understood by you now. Now this Great Bath were places where we can consider this as modern swimming pool. Now most of us we know what exactly is the meaning of swimming pool, right? Now you can consider this great bath as swimming pool. It was a rectangular form of construction. It was rectangular form of construction during that time, which had various different staircases. And various small houses or small compartments or units. So houses were built around this great bath. Now there are various different assumptions or calculations as to what was exactly or why this particular thing was built. Now here it is considered like, as if you talk about the modern swimming pools, we have a system where before you enter into the swimming pools there are various important rooms where people have to go get fresh and then come down to the swimming pool and swim. Now in the same way you can consider this in one particular presumption is that these small rooms were units of small rooms where people had, most probably they used to come, relax there, and then whatever extra time they had, they used it in a large gathering, coming together and enjoying the water pool that was existed here. Now the second assumption is that it may be that this particular place was also used for religious purposes. How religious purposes? Considering that these small units, the construction of these small units was in such a way that there were various, it might be that there were various important religious activities that were held here, and the existence of water stated about the use of water as a holy water for various important washing of important things or cleansing body or getting cured, because most of the in Hindu system, where while we enter a particular temple, we take bath, we dip inside a river or take bath, then we enter the temple. It was considered in such a way that it might be that this water that were existed and the states that is there existing, people used to come down to this, get a holy bath and get back to these religious important places, which were divided into various compartments or small units where individual people can, if there is a large gathering of people, individual people can accommodate themselves in these small units and use them. So there are presumptions regarding to two different systems of this existence of this great bath, which was also considered to be a swimming pool or a religious place of existence. Now there was also important other thing called as the assembly hall. The existence of assembly hall. Assembly hall was nothing but a big structure of hall kind of place where most probably the rulers or the kings used to gather most of the people there, and they used to discuss about various important topics or important matters that were important for development, for any kind of activities that were to be done together in one single form. So these assemblies were used for most probably for public gathering, to coming together, and which was also considered one of the important places of public buildings. Okay, this great bath and general assemblies. So these are some of the important topics stated about the characteristics or the features that states about the existence and the importance of the Indus Valley civilizations. Now in the next class we are going to continue with these characteristics, whereas we are going to learn about drainage system, the important dress and ornaments or pattern of living style of the people. Then we are going to study about the division of society, how the society was divided, and important recreation or important other activities that the people during that time did or they practiced during the earlier Indus Valley civilization. So this is all for today. Hope you all are studying well and doing good. Thank you very much.